right. Okay. Are we? Yep. Okay. Making sure we're all on here. All right. So, all right, everybody. JR here. Welcome back to another little Life is Strange stream. We will be continuing our journey through Steph's story here. Last time we left off at chapter 15, so we'll be beginning chapter 15 here. So far, the big thing from the last episode was we went through the for Steph, the 10, no, not 10, the 3 year, at this point, 3 year anniversary of the storm destroying Arcadia Bay and losing her mom in the storm and whatnot. So, and go dealing with that, trying to hide it, not let it affect her too much, but that also causing an issue between her and Izzy. So at least she was able to, in the last chapter, finally talk to her about it. So Izzy was able to give her a little bit of comfort and whatnot. So they were able to solve their little argument and stuff that Steph not dealing and opening up about that caused. So now all good on that front. so so now uh we will start chapter 15 here. So let's see how the rest of let's see where everything's gonna go from here.
15. For Izzy's birthday, I get her custom drugstore makeup guitar picks and make her a home-cooked meal of store-bought lasagna and apple pie.
Ooh, bougie.
When I asked her what she wanted to do, she insisted on staying in. It's been a rough few months for a lot of reasons. Or maybe just for the one very orange, very angry, very presidential one. The year 2016 isn't something I'll miss, but I don't exactly have a lot of hope that 2017 will be much better. The year is only 15 days old, but already I'm sick of it. I spend most of my time at the cafe, working extra shifts, and Izzy spends most of hers on the phone with her mom and tucked behind her laptop, poring over spreadsheets. It is a big deal, Mom, I catch her saying into the speaker when I go to preheat the oven. I don't want to argue about this anymore, okay? I love you, but you just don't get it. What doesn't she get? I ask once she's hung up. You having a quarter-life crisis? Izzy groans and drops her head against the chair back. I'm having a crisis, all right. I don't know how she's not. That's a mood. I cross over to the oven and fiddle with the dial. Is it a specific crisis, or... She wants me to go to the Women's March next week. Izzy sighs and presses her fingers to her temples. She's riled, I get it, and she should totally go. But I don't think she understands how scary it is for me. When people start talking about women's rights and womanhood and feminism, it gets really turfy real fast. Exactly. I just can't be there when they start with the gender essentialism shit. She straightens up and looks back at her laptop. I can't concentrate. I'm gonna go play for a bit. There's a scraping sound as she pushes back her chair and heads for the garage, leaving her laptop behind. Dinner in I don't know, a lot of minutes? I shout after her, searching on the lasagna box for the cook time. I sit down at the kitchen table to wait for the oven to preheat, but as the minutes tick by, I get more and more antsy. I glance at the laptop across from me, drumming my fingers on the table, a nervous rhythm. Screw it, I mutter and switch seats. It's weird how much Izzy's been glued to her computer lately. She does music stuff full-time, all the admin and bookings for our band, plus she teaches guitar lessons, and she generally prefers her notebook for writing songs. I can't help but think something is up, and maybe a little snooping won't be so bad. The first thing I see is a spreadsheet. It's full of numbers and dollar amounts from gigs. There's a sheet with my name on it, too. It's got my rent and my cut of drugstore makeup profits listed by month. Maybe she's just keeping track of expenses? But then I see several entries for gigs we never played, dates I was working at the coffee shop. I peer closer, double-checking to make sure I'm not imagining it, but no. There are thousands of dollars and dozens of shows I wasn't even at. A low rumble of suspicion starts in my gut, winding its way up my throat.
Oh boy.
Is this what she's been hiding? I was ready to let Pixie be right about Izzy, about her being an introvert, but maybe there's more to her secrecy than just a difference of social energy. But no, it doesn't do me any good to jump to conclusions. I minimize the window. Behind it is a browser with an advertisement for an open mic at a coffee shop, dated for this afternoon, and a bunch of archive of our own tabs. All Willow Terra. At least my girl's got good taste in fan fiction. I resolve to ask Izzy about the spreadsheet over dinner and get on with the extremely taxing process of following the box instructions. But when I head out to the garage to fetch her, she's not there, and neither is her acoustic guitar. I double-check every room and even try calling her cell, but there's no answer. I glance at her laptop and know instantly where she is. It takes me all of 3 seconds to decide to follow her. I grab my keys and head out for the cafe, leaving dinner sitting on the table. The coffee shop is only a few blocks away. Purgatory is cute, if a little run down, with wood paneling and high ceilings. The acoustics are great. There's an older woman with long, flowing gray hair playing the saw, of all things, and chanting in a deep, melodic tone. It's hypnotic, and I stand in the doorway, swaying to her song for a few moments, before I snap back to reality. I scan the audience for Izzy, catching sight of her dark hair disappearing over at the other side of the stage, just as the saw player's song ends. Great! Give it up for Lydia of Never Saw You Comin'. A barista hops up on stage, clad in an apron with little devil horns embroidered on the front. Next, we've got Izzy Unplugged. My mouth falls open as Izzy takes the stage. She looks different, smoother, softer. She's in blue jeans and a loose green button-up I've never seen her wear before. She's even braided her hair to the side, like she's undercover as a country singer or something. Hey, I'm Izzy. I'm gonna try out some new stuff today, if that's okay. I blink up at her, absolutely baffled. Her voice is fluttery and nervous. I've never heard her sound nervous before a gig. And I've definitely never heard her ask permission from the audience to do anything. I wrote this song a few weeks ago, and it's pretty fresh. No one's heard it before, so lucky you, I guess.
Oh, excuse me.
My chest tightens at that. No one's heard it before. Izzy's fingers find their place on the frets, and as she strikes the first chord, her eyes find me near the door. Her mouth opens, but no song comes out. Steph? She calls after me, but I'm already gone. There's really nothing like marching down the street in mid-January, wind whipping you into a frozen frenzy as your girlfriend chases you down the street to make you feel like an idiot. Steph, wait. Izzy's words sound far away, even though I'm only halfway down the block. I feel almost absent, like I'm watching the events unfold rather than living them. And just like a car crash on the side of the road, I can't look away. Hey! Her hand slips around my wrist and she pulls me to a stop. Why'd you run off? Why? I ask. I think it's pretty clear what's going on here. Izzy's gaze is soft and searching, not at all the defensive wall I expected to find. Illuminate me, please, 'cause I have no idea. God, Izzy? I shake my head and gesture at her whole situation. The outfit, the acoustic guitar, the coffee shop behind her. Just, what is this? Are you soft launching a solo career behind my back? I can hear myself sounding paranoid, like I'm pulling at threads that weren't loose to begin with. Izzy looks down at her outfit, then back at me. No, Steph, no, we've talked about this. I don't want to play music with anyone else, and I definitely don't want to do it alone. Seemed like you were happy to do it alone back there. Her fingers climb up my arm, seeking a better grip as if she's worried if she lets go, I'll dissolve into the wind. Where is this coming from? I thought we were good. I thought we were too, I say, but the words feel false once I've said them. I try to remember the last time I felt like we were good, and there's a smattering of memories and moments. On stage, playing music, at Pride, openly sharing our love. In the dark, playing Truth or Dare by the light of a candle. But there's this underlying discomfort I can't place. Like I'm standing at the edge of a cliff and hoping I don't fall. But that was before I found out you've been playing a bunch of gigs without me and writing songs you won't share with me. What's the deal? Do you, want to do a softer sound? 'Cause we can do that. Just don't lie to me about this. Playing gigs without you? Her brow furrows even deeper, and confusion crosses her gaze. Genuine or not, I can't tell. What are you talking about? I saw the spreadsheet, okay? All those gigs you've been playing while I work the coffee shop. Her face goes slack, understanding finally dawning on her. Yeah, I know about all that. There's an edge to my voice, an almost smugness that I've caught her in this lie. And I'm not sure if it's cruel or not, but at least it's fair because now we both know. Or at least that's what I think. Oh my God, Steph, I haven't been playing without you. Those were shows I turned down. She presses a hand to her temple and groans. I've been keeping track of how much money we're skipping out on because of your work schedule, waiting for the numbers to make sense. Waiting for what to make sense? To ask you to quit. Your job, I mean. I figured if it started to add up, like if we could be making enough playing music during your work hours, then maybe you'd want to switch to full-time. Full-time? The words are a harsh exhale, like someone's hit me very hard on the back. What? Like, be a musician? Is that even an option? Izzy shrugs. Yeah, it's not all glamorous stuff, like we might have to do some unplugged sets and a lot of covers, but it's all exposure and could lead to more. I've even been setting aside a bit of money to get time in a studio so we can record some of our songs. We're missing out on a ton by not having records for sale at gigs. And it's not a lot of money, but it's stupid that we're not on Spotify. Plus, if we win Battle of the Bands at Pride, we'll be going on tour. A real tour. That's big stuff. And I want us to be ready. And today, the open mic? My fists are still balled too tight, my heart racing too fast. But at least the pieces are beginning to fall into place. The new song? Izzy's cheeks, already pink from the cold, flush a deeper shade. I'm not used to writing without you, she says quietly, eyes downcast.
Aww.
But I didn't want to spoil the surprise. Surprise? Izzy pulls her notebook from her back pocket and flips it open for me to see. Her sprawling handwriting fills the page, sections crossed out and rewritten with notations in the margins. At the top is the title, My Beanie Babe, Steph's song. You wrote me a song. It comes out flat, like all I can manage are the words. So I look up and try again. You wrote me a song? Izzy shrugs. Yeah, I mean, you could say that.
The dumbfoundedness.
It's really more about your choice in headwear, but the rest of her words are lost against my lips. I apologize with my hand cupping her jaw, my arm around her waist, my breath tangling with hers. Relief floods my body everywhere she touches me, and I want to stay like this forever. Not arguing, not worried, just feeling. When she pulls away, I'm not ready. And I don't know how to form the word sorry on my lips. So instead I say, okay. Okay? She tilts her head. I nod. I'll put in my notice tomorrow. 16. Quitting is easier said than done.
It's a big gamble.
Jordy roasts me way more than the beans we use for coffee over it all. So you're telling me your solution to fighting with your girlfriend is to quit your job? He says in a lull between customers. What? Who said that? I ask while washing the same coffee grinder for the third time. You did. It's your MO. Jordy throws up his hands and crosses over to the sink to tick off my many offenses on his fingers. First you fought with Izzy, so you told her you loved her. Then you fought with Izzy, so you moved in with her. Now you fought with Izzy, so you're quitting your job. Before you know it, you're going to be one of those people who has a baby instead of getting divorced.
Oh, shit.
I make a face. Now that's some heterosexual nonsense. More like allosexual nonsense. I shoot Jordy a disdainful look. Who are you to talk, Mr. Also in a relationship? I love Ollie, but if we were fighting like you and Izzy, I'd be single again before you could blink. Jordy shrugs. It's gotta be exhausting, right? Like I'm tired just thinking about being that anxiously attached. Okay, well no one asked you to think about it. A fun fact you might not know is that you can shut the hell up at any time. I grumble and turn to take my break. Jordy catches me by the arm and says, Hey, I didn't mean it like that. I know I get a little fatigued by relationship talk, but that doesn't mean I don't care. You're my friend, and I'm worried about you. Well, stop worrying. Jordy surveys me with narrowed eyes. Look, I'm not trying to argue with you. You're gonna do what you're gonna do, but just think about whether you're doing this because you want to, or because you're afraid if you don't, you'll be single again. I'm not afraid to be single. Fear or love, baby? Don't say the answer. What is that, Justin Bieber? I make a face. Oh my God, no, Jonathan Larson, you uncultured swine. Please, I thought you had a background in theater. I shrug. Musicals were never really my thing. For a second, Jordy looks like he might take this opportunity to educate me about musical theater. But instead, he lowers his voice and just says, Be careful, Steph. I'm going to be fine, I say. And I almost believe it. Everything's going to be fine. I head to Dad's that evening to finally fulfill my promise to watch Blade Runner, a 6-pack of orange soda in hand as an offering.
Blade Runner again. Look at that. Blade Runner is getting so many mentions throughout this story.
Renee's signature floral arrangement is in the hallway. So is the scent of freshly baked cookies. To my surprise, it isn't Renee in the kitchen, but Dad wielding a spatula and a bag of chocolate chips.
Ah.
Hey, sweetie. He points over to the counter. Want to lick the bowl? You made these from scratch? I eye the bowl carefully. Do I dare? Dad mimes drumming with the spatula and sounds out the beats. Ba-da-da-da-da-da-dum. cooking lessons, remember? I'm practically Gordon Ramsay.
Sure
Yeah,
you
and
are.
I'm Ringo Starr. I raise an eyebrow, but take a swipe of batter all the same. It tastes like a memory, too sweet and smooth. Dad glances at the timer. There are still a few minutes left, and says, "So what's new with my kid? How's the cafe?" "Not a kid," I say defensively, focusing as hard as I can on cleaning this bowl instead of making eye contact. I'm not in the mood to be lectured about stability and retirement and health insurance. Right, sorry. He holds up his hands. You are the master of your own fate and all of that. There's a tense silence as I finish off the last of the batter, and Dad watches the egg timer slowly tick forward. Finally, I say, "I put in my notice." "You did you? Well, that's great, sweetie." "It is?" I don't even mean to ask it. The question just slips out. "Well, sure. You're moving on. Growing up." Growing up. A sick feeling settles in my stomach, and I just know he thinks it's because I got some job he perceives as being somehow more adult, more responsible. It's almost enough to make me lie. But as I open my mouth, I can't seem to summon the energy. The band's really taking off. Izzy crunched the numbers, and we think we can really make it with drugstore makeup, if we go all in. It's kind of a now or never thing, and, well, I guess I'd rather try and fail than wonder what if. I feel the fight rising in me, the readiness to defend this choice. I'm not even all that sure of myself. We're not rushing into this, I promise. She has spreadsheets and everything. Dad nods slowly and taps his fingers on the counter. Izzy's a smart girl, he says slowly. Real logical. Well, she's a Capricorn, so... Right. And I'm a Wookiee. He deadpans. It's an astrology thing. So I wasn't that far off with the Star Wars reference. Sure, whatever. I roll my eyes, a smile sneaking onto my lips. The point is, this is good. You're doing what you love with someone you love. Doesn't get much better than that. You have to do what makes you happy. Right. I can't decide if I'm more thrown by his acceptance of my choice or by his characterization of it as something that will make me happy. Happy doesn't feel like the word, exactly. Anxious, excited, a little bit terrified. I wish I'd done more of that, you know? More music? Sure, but other things too. Dad's gaze goes cloudy and distant, like he's not fully here with me anymore. I spent a lot of time being unhappy for the sake of other people. Your mom did too. We never should have gotten married in the first place. And we shouldn't have stayed married as long as we did. We both put our lives on hold because people told us it would be better for you if we stayed together. I snort loudly. That's a load of bullshit. I remember the fun and I remember the fights. But more than that, I remember the numb quiet of parents who just didn't love each other that much. It sucked having Dad live so far away up in Seattle, while me and Mom still lived in Arcadia Bay. But it was way better than all living under one roof. Besides, if he'd stayed, he might be dead too. What do you wish you'd done instead?
Well, that's one way of looking
I
at it.
ask. And it dawns on me how little I know my own dad. I know his hobbies, I know his favorite movies, but I don't really know him. There's this quality to dads, the way Hallmark and TV commercials mythologize them as types rather than people. They're grill masters, or lawn tamers, or thrill seekers, or nerd fighters. But my dad's just a guy trying to live his life his way. And the realization is both sad and hopeful at the same time. I don't think I'd be that different. I'd still like what I like and do what I do. He frowns, thoughtfully smoothing his mustache. But there's one thing I'd be, and that's a better dad. I open my mouth to argue, but he doesn't let me. I'm not saying I was a bad dad. I just think I would have been better at it if I'd spent more time living my life, instead of trying to live the life your mom and I thought we were supposed to. He shrugs one shoulder. Guess I wish I'd figured that out before you were all grown up. I mean, I'm not that grown up. I flick a little bit of cookie dough at him and it sticks to his shirt. Oh, well now you're definitely grounded. Dad, I whine. You're totally ruining my life. The timer goes off, and Dad pulls a tray of chocolate chip cookies from the oven. Et voila! I peer over at the perfectly golden brown cookies and give an approving nod. Maybe you would have been a baker. He grins at that and pats me on the shoulder. That's what I'm talking about. It's good to chase your passions now. You have more time to enjoy them that way. I nod as he plates up the cookies to take into the living room. My thoughts circle and spiral, a vortex of feelings. I came here prepared to shoulder the weight of my dad's disapproval. But instead, I'm left with all this unspent energy and nowhere to put it. 17. They say time flies when you're having fun, and that's never been truer than when I'm playing music with Izzy. I work my last day at Save Point and almost immediately begin my life as a full-time musician with a gig that same night. We debut Beanie Babe to an incredible audience, and we trade with Izzy's friend Jerry for time in his recording studio in exchange for help designing a new logo for his band. This is the place. Jerry ushers us inside.
Nice, nice networking and trading for services and stuff. Good way of getting their up and coming band and music and stuff off the ground.
On the 4th floor of a high-rise, the elevator opens directly into his apartment. It's one of those places I've seen from the outside and wondered who the heck can even afford to live there. Jerry, apparently, is the answer. Izzy mentioned on the way over that he was wealthy, but I thought she meant that he was the type to fill up his whole gas tank or an extra guac kind of guy. This is a whole other level. Whoa, I say as we walk into a living room with a window as big as Izzy's van looking out on downtown Seattle. Wait till you see the studio. Jerry gestures us even deeper into his apartment. First thing I did when I moved in was soundproof the extra bedroom and set up recording equipment. It's a pretty big space for a recording studio inside someone's apartment. I really expected it to be more like a glorified closet. A full drum kit rests in one corner with a lineup of every electric instrument I can think of: guitar, bass, violin, and even a harp. Microphones hang from the ceiling, and on the other side of a glass panel is a room full of equipment with blinking lights and buttons I desperately want to press. And your landlord let you do that? Izzy asks. God, no, I didn't tell him. What about your security deposit? I run my hands along the cushioned walls. Jerry just shrugs. I like to think of that as a premium for making my space the way I want it. Huh. I can't personally imagine thinking like that myself, but there's no need to share that with Jerry, especially as he's being incredibly generous to let us use his studio. Cool if I set up? I ask, pointing to the drum set. Jerry gives me a thumbs up and ducks into the other room to fiddle with some dials. While he and Izzy test the mics and levels on her guitar, I settle in behind the drum set. It's nicer than mine, for sure. He's got more cymbals. I didn't even realize there were more to have besides hi-hat, crash, and ride. I experimentally hit one of them squarely with my drumstick. Steph, Izzy yelps. We're trying to work here, could you cool it? Sorry, I wince and quiet the cymbal. There's not much for me to do while they get things set up, so I lean back against the wall and twirl my drumsticks. I have to stop myself from accidentally hitting the kick drum multiple times as my leg bounces up and down, my body too full of jitters to stay still. Finally, Izzy gives me a nod, and Jerry's voice filters in through an intercom. Okay, ready when you are. I count us off, and then we're full swing into Riot Pride. The energy of the song rushes through my body and I feel like I'm floating. It's a transcendental feeling, playing music you love. I almost can't believe I get to do this for a living. Maybe if I'm lucky, I'll get to keep doing it. Izzy stops abruptly, and my drumming fills the space left by her silence. I follow suit a few beats later, coming out of the zone slow and heavy like I'm moving through glue. "What's wrong?" I ask. "I fucked up, gotta start over." So we do, 3 more times. Finally, Jerry calls into us through the intercom. "Hey, it's okay to play through the mistakes. If we can get a couple takes, we can edit them together in post so it'll be like you never screwed up." "I just want to get it right," Izzy says, jaw tight. We try one more time. But Izzy doesn't even make it to the chorus before she hits the wrong string. She lets out a loud groan and throws her pick on the floor. "Maybe we should take a break," I suggest. Izzy's dangerously close to the edge, and I don't want our trip to be wasted. If I can just get her to relax, maybe eat something, she'll rally, and we'll get something usable. Jerry nods and leads us into the kitchen, a room larger than the garage Izzy and I live in. I slide onto a stool at the center island and hand Izzy a granola bar from my backpack. "Want anything to drink?" Jerry asks. "Maybe some water? Still or sparkling?" The question is so absurd that I choke on my own tongue trying to answer. "Still is fine," Izzy says, her voice far away. Jerry hands us both water bottles made of glass, then jabs his thumb over his shoulder. "I'll be in the sound booth. Come find me when you're ready to keep going." I turn to Izzy as soon as he's gone. "You okay?" Izzy nods and takes a sip of her water. "Yeah, I just really want to nail it." "I get that. I feel like there's all this pressure," she continues. "We were about to make an album when I left Final Resting Place. I really want ours to be good. Better than theirs. Feels like they'll win if it's not. Like Astrid will have been right to kick me out of the band." Okay, well, first of all, that's not true. I grab for her knee and turn her to face me. "Maybe she asked you to leave the band, but it was the right move. She was shitty to you, and you deserve to make the music you want to make." "Right, but what if that music sucks?" "It doesn't," I say emphatically. I love our music. I love our sound. I love us. Other people will too. Izzy's eyes swim with tears, and she shakes her head. "What if they don't?" I let out a long breath. It's an anxiety I can't soothe because it's one I share. People like us when they come to see us perform. But putting out recordings is a whole other deal. People on the internet will be able to hear us whenever they want. People from all over will have opinions about our songs. Maybe they'll be homophobic. Maybe they'll be mean. Maybe they won't listen at all. But none of them are in the room with us. You know, it's just me and Jerry here. If you fuck up, we're the only ones who will know. Izzy nods, too quickly. She doesn't believe me. "Let's get back to it," I say. "You go ahead. Give me a few to get it together." She doesn't look at me, eyes averted to the floor. I want to wrap my arms around her waist and whisper affirmations into her hair. But that's not what she wants from me. Instead, I just give a murmur of assent and head back toward the recording studio. Jerry sits there with headphones covering his ears, and I tap him on the shoulder to get his attention. "Hey, Izzy's gonna be a minute." I sit down next to him and point to the computer screen in front of him. "What are you listening to?" "Some of my own stuff. Been messing around with editing some songs my band laid down last week." Jerry offers me his headset. I pop the earphones over my ears and close my eyes. Something grungy, while also techno, crackles through my body, the rhythm strong with a synth melody over the top. "It's cool," I say after a few minutes of bobbing my head along to the beat. Not what I expected at all. In a good way, though. Jerry laughs at that. Yeah, I get that a lot. People always think I'm gonna suck. No, that's not what I'm... It's cool. I'd probably think that about me too if I met myself. I know people usually think I'm just some rich poser or whatever, and you know what? Maybe I am. But like, so what? He leans back in his chair and puts his feet up on the desk. I'm not really in this to prove anything. I just want to make music and help other people make music. I survey Jerry through new eyes. Maybe he is obnoxiously rich, and maybe he is kind of paying to play punk, but he's also being honest. It's something I'm growing to realize is hard to come by. How do you do that? I ask, after a few moments of silence. Like, how do you get over the pressure? Jerry shrugs. Guess I just don't take myself that seriously. They say you're your own worst critic, right? So if I'm easy on myself, then the rest of the world will be too. I'm not sure that's how it works. I glance toward the door, but still no Izzy. Wish I could get Izzy to be kinder to herself. That's a losing battle. I've known Izzy for a minute, and she's always been a perfectionist. I nod and tip my chair back. Yeah, I don't know what the deal is. Even when it's just us, she gets in her head. I wish she could see that without an audience, we can be as messy as we need to be. Maybe it matters when we're on stage, but off stage? Oh, Steph. Jerry sighs and gives me a pitying look. Izzy always has an audience with you. What? I start to ask, but just then Izzy appears in the doorway, looking weary but determined. Okay, let's try again, she says and enters the sound booth. I stand to follow behind, but Jerry catches me by the arm. She's performing for you, whether you want her to or not. Remember that. His words stick with me as I take my place behind the drums, adjusting the stool and testing my sticks against the snare. Izzy feels judged by me?
Well, that is that is true. Uh, Technically, uh she kind of told you that with the whole reveal of the making the song and stuff specifically for Steph and things like that. So she already kind of was pretty much telling her like, yeah, we're doing the performance, but at the same time, like for Izzy, she is kind of like the top priority audience there. So good thing someone noticed.
I watch her plug her guitar into her amp and adjust her grip on the neck with ease. This all comes so naturally to her. I never could have imagined in a million years that I would be the source of her nerves. But her eyes cheat toward me, full of caution. Ready? She asks. I hold up my hand and beckon her toward me. We're gonna do great. Okay? Izzy just nods, and I can tell she's still anxious. Her lips curve down and her eyes are dim with worry. My stomach sinks. I wish she knew how beautiful and wondrous and talented she is. I wish she'd believe me if I told her. Hey, I say, quietly enough that Jerry can't hear. I love you. That gets a smile. I love you too. When Jerry gives us a thumbs up, we play and we don't stop until the song is over. And this time, we totally nail it. Summer. 18. We burst into this year's Pride Festival like fireworks. Leah insisted on handcrafting our outfits for the stage. So we're rocking complementary ensembles that somehow balance punk with rainbows. Izzy's got a leather dress with rainbow fringe along the sides, and I'm in a vest that matches. And now for the finishing touch. Leah holds her makeup bag aloft like it's a holy relic. In honor of Drugstore Makeup's triumphant performance to come, I have purchased some eponymous items. You make it sound so ominous, I say, but I crawl toward her across the grass. It can't be ominous, not at Pride. Izzy tilts her head up and closes her eyes, letting the sun's rays bathe her in a glossy light. I just love it here. It's like everything else just melts away. I reach over to squeeze her hand. She deserves this moment of peace so much. We all do. Well, I think you'll love this too. Leah pours her makeup bag out on the blanket and begins sorting tubes of lipstick. Okay, who wants to go first? Izzy slowly blinks her eyes open. Go first for what? Leah's brown eyes dance, mischief in every crease of her smile. I'm going to paint your lips rainbow. Izzy opens her mouth to interrupt, but she only gets a single syllable out before Leah cuts her off. No, I know, not your style, but it's not for keepsies. We'll clean it off after and you can go back to your black lipstick if you want. But hear me out, because when I thought of this, I nearly exploded from cuteness. When I'm done, you each kiss each other to leave the lipstick mark. But instead of red, like the logo, it's rainbow. Okay, that is pretty cute, I admit. Izzy, you just want an excuse to kiss me. I roll over to her side of the picnic blanket and plant a kiss on her jaw. Don't need an excuse. All right. Izzy and I sit patiently as Leah applies the cheap lipstick with an expensive brush. My knee brushes Izzy's, and her hand finds my thigh, tracing little circles in the exposed skin. I'm grateful, and not just because of the June heat, that I chose to wear shorts today. All done, Leah declares with a flourish. I turn to Izzy, grinning, and walk my fingers up her body until I reach her face, keeping her still with a hand on her cheek. I press my lips to the other. Mwah, I say as I release her. The rainbow kiss mark is vibrant against her skin, the pigments running together for a blended effect. It looks so good, Ollie exclaims. I want one too. I turn my gaze on him and raise my eyebrows. Ew, no, not from you. Ollie points to Jordy, who is innocently enjoying a snow cone, entirely unaware of our shenanigans. Leah, get him! With pleasure. Leah takes her tubes of lipstick and trots over to Jordy, who, to his credit, just shrugs and goes along with it. No questions asked. Your turn, Izzy says softly. I present my cheek, but she just brushes a thumb over the skin and turns her fond gaze on my body. You know, I've been thinking. Yeah? About our sound. Drugstore makeup, I mean. She trails her fingers up my arm, nails lightly scraping against my skin. I know we're supposed to be this band that's all about queer rage, but I don't know. It feels like rage is just so normal these days. Sometimes I worry it's the only thing I'll ever feel again. And then there are these moments like this that remind me I can feel joy too. I understand exactly what she means. I remember the way she cried on election night, the way I cried too. And every day since then has felt like wading through waist-deep water, trying to move forward against a current that wants to sweep us away and pretend we never existed. There's so much to be angry about, and I know that means I should have plenty of writing material to draw on, but I feel like the punk thing to do right now is to write about queer joy too. I want to sing about lying in the sun with you and holding your hand and marking your skin with my rainbow lips. And I want that too. I want to hold on to times like these and immortalize them in a song. I want to have that for when the world is terrible, and I think, even if just for a moment, that this is what love must feel like. I lean up to kiss her, but before our lips collide, A hand comes down between us. "Hey," Leah shouts. "No mouth kissing." "Wow, homophobic." "No mouth kissing," Leah repeats. "Not until you do the thing. Otherwise, I'll have to redo your makeup." "Fine, fine." Izzy rises up to her knees and leans over to kiss my shoulder, leaving behind a beautiful rainbow mark in the shape of her mouth. "Thank you." Leah points to her bag. "I've got makeup wipes in there, and then you two can go to town." We fall over each other, trying to get to the makeup wipes quickly. Our bodies collide, and we spill into a mess on the ground, laughing. I cradle Izzy in my arms and press our noses together. Izzy ghosts her lips over mine, whispering into the corner of my mouth just before she kisses me. I think this is going to make a great song. The bliss of the afternoon doesn't last long. As time ticks on and the battle of the bands draws closer, Izzy grows more and more tense. I notice it in her body first, the way her shoulders pinch and her jaw tightens. Then she stops partaking in the conversation, and her gaze travels away from us to stare off into the distance. "Okay, time to get ready," I say, a full hour before we originally intended to head backstage. I help Izzy up to standing. "Woo, break a leg," Jordy says. "Are you supposed to say that to musicians?" Ollie points up at us. "Or is that just for theater people?" "Figuratively," Jordy amends. With a wave and a smile, I take off, steering Izzy by her shoulders through the crowd. I stop to get a couple of burritos. It's unlikely Izzy will eat before we play, but just in case. I'd rather have food available than not. I plop hers down in the driver's side cup holder when we get to the van, then dig ravenously into mine. And here we have the Steph in her natural habitat. See how she devours her prey with an exacting chomp. A voice drifts over from the van parked beside ours. And when I look up, I see Tammy with her arms hitched up by her sides, prowling toward me with exaggerated leg movements like some kind of cryptid. Behind her, Dwight and Pixie laugh while Dex rolls his eyes. "Hey," I say through a mouthful of beans and cheese. "I didn't know you were playing." All 4 members of the High Seas circle around me as I climb out of the van. Dwight gives me a playful jab on the arm, and Pixie squeezes me tight. "Battle of the Bands." Dwight pumps his fists in the air. "Course we're playing." "Big prize," I say, nodding. Dex shrugs. "Big audience." "Big fun." Pixie nudges me in the side, smile wide. In the lead up to Pride, Izzy's put the pressure on. Winning is a big deal. The tour, the exposure, the record deal. It would be our big break. She's put so much effort into drugstore makeup that I want it for her almost as badly as she wants it herself. It would prove that it was worth it. It would prove that songs like ours matter. "You're not nervous?" I ask, glancing back at Izzy, who was curled up in the van, hunched over her notebook with a line like a coin slot in the center of her forehead. "Oh, we want to win as much as anyone," Tammy says. But it's easy to get tunnel vision about that and forget to actually enjoy the experience. She flings an arm over my shoulder and points to the stage. "Just think about it. You're going to play on that stage for all those very cool people." She shifts her arm to gesture at the park, filling with more and more blankets and rainbow-clad attendees. In a lineup with other very cool people, she motions to herself and the other members of the High Seas. "Did you just call yourself cool?" I ask, eyebrow raised. "Hell yeah, I did." "Come on, have a drink with us." Dwight kicks open a blue and white cooler. I look over at Izzy, but she's in her own world. So I pluck a ginger ale from the ice chest and settle in as my friends regale me with stories from their tour. It isn't lost on me that maybe someday that will be me and Izzy. And if things go well tonight, that future could come sooner than I think. I hope I'll be ready for it when it does. The sky is just beginning to darken over the Pride Festival, and the lights from the stage are bright. Behind it, musicians mill about. Some have noise-canceling headphones on and pace back and forth. Others do warm-up vocal drills. There's a group of bass players, including Dwight, playing hacky sack, and a couple of drummers are horsing around, pretending their drumsticks are lightsabers. "Are you ready to rock?" I call as I clamber back into Izzy's van, energized well beyond a normal sugar high. Izzy? I look around, but she's not here. That's odd. But her guitar and notebook are still lying on the back seat, so she can't have gone far. I climb over the seats and land in the passenger side to grab my drumsticks from the cup holder. I see her burrito, still untouched, beside them. Then my eyes drift up to look out the front window. And there she is. And she's not alone. Izzy is leaning against the front bumper of the van, arms crossed. She doesn't look happy. She doesn't look angry. She just looks kind of empty as she stares. I follow her line of sight and see 3 girls I recognize. Vinyl resting place. That can't be good. I open the door and leap down onto the grass. Hey, I say. Izzy shifts her gaze to me and echoes my greeting. Hey. What's going on? I nod in the direction of her former bandmates' retreating backs. Everything okay? Izzy shrugs. Yeah, I think so, I guess. What do they want? Her forehead wrinkles and her mouth twitches into a smile of all things. They wanted to wish me luck. Peace at last? I raise my eyebrows and reach for her, fingers forming a loose cup around her elbow. Maybe? She leans into me, inhaling deeply and letting out a long sigh as my arms close around her. Still want to pummel the shit out of them on stage, though.
Hopefully, we will see if that is genuinely a genuine good luck, or is it just something they're just saying because they feel like they have to and not because it's something they should do.
That's the spirit. I cackle and drag her back toward the van. Come on, let's check the lineup. We find our name on the list posted by the stairs leading up to the stage. We're second to last, which Izzy says is great placement. Anywhere in the middle is bad, she says. Too easy for the judges to forget you. First or last is obviously best, but I'll take it. And her face lights up, excitement in her eyes for the first time in hours. Even better, we're after Vinyl Resting Place. Hell yeah. I punch my fist into my open palm. We'll show them how it's done. Izzy catches my fist in her palms and presses a kiss to my cheek. I love you, she says quietly. Thanks for doing this with me. My chest swells and I pull her closer, sinking my fingers into her hair. I brush my lips against hers and whisper, I wouldn't do it with anyone else. 19. When we take the stage, a roar of applause greets us. The crowd has had plenty of time to get fatigued. We're the 11th band in a lineup of 12 to play, but they're still just as loud for us as they were for the High Seas, who opened the show 2 hours ago.
Jesus.
I settle in behind the drum set. For a show like this, it doesn't make sense for us all to bring our own drum kits, so I'm using the same one as everyone else. I adjust the seat and give a quick drum roll before Izzy grabs the mic to introduce us. Hello, Seattle! Her voice carries on the large speakers, and there's a cheer in response. I'm Izzy, and this is my girlfriend, Steph. We're drugstore makeup. Hope you like our sound. We kick things off with Riot Pride. It's such a strong anthem of a song, and I love that it's what brought us together in the first place. That it's the song that made Vinyl Resting Place kick her out is just an added perk. They've got to be kicking themselves backstage as they hear us absolutely killing it with the song they rejected. Thank you! Izzy takes the mic in both hands and leans a little closer to the audience. That was our song, Riot Pride. I'm so grateful to be out here with you tonight. Something that wouldn't have been possible without Marsha P. Johnson and the Stonewall riots. Let's give it up for everyone who's fought for queer rights. We owe them big time. The crowd loves that, shouting out other names too. Stormy DeLavier! Sylvia Rivera, Harvey Milk. Let's all remember to support a queer future too. Battle of the Bands is benefiting the LGBTQIA youth shelter. So if you're able, please help us fundraise for them and help homeless queer kids find their footing. Next up, we mellow things out a bit with Beanie Babe. With time for only 3 songs, we had to be strategic. And this is the best way to show our range. I wrote this song for my girlfriend, Izzy says, and the crowd erupts in cheers. Someone near the front yells, "We love lesbians!" I chuckle and pull my own mic closer to my lips. So do we! When we reach the final echo of the chorus, I quiet my cymbals and let Izzy's voice stand alone. I bask a little in the emotion of her tone, knowing it's for me when her voice breaks just a little on the last note. "Love you, Steph," she says into the mic. "Kiss her!" someone yells. Others echo the sentiment, and soon it becomes a chant. I don't need to be told twice, so I stand up and lean over the drum kit, lips puckered. Izzy jogs back and plants one on me. It's quick and perfunctory, not at all the kind of kiss that pride deserves. So I grab for her and pull her closer. "Give me a second, guys. Gotta do this right," I say into the mic. Then I step out from behind the drums, twirl Izzy into a little dip, and find her mouth with mine. The cheer we get is enough to blow the roof off the stage. "We got this," I whisper as I pull Izzy back up and send her back toward the front. "Happy Pride, Seattle!" Izzy's voice is strong as she returns to the mic. "Real quick, thank you guys so much for coming out tonight to support the LGBTQIA youth shelter. Also," I chime in, heart pounding with fondness for this audience, this event, this moment in time. "I just want to say, holy shit, you all have made this the best Pride ever, literally ever. We have one more. This song is called Compton Cafeteria. I count us in. 1, 2, 3, 4. I grin the whole way through the song. It's one Izzy wrote early on, building on the same emotions from Riot Pride. She said she wanted to highlight more moments of queer history other than Stonewall, to honor everyone who made living her life in the open possible. I can't think of a better message to end with. I love this song, and I love this stage. The adrenaline pumping through my veins feels like lightning, like I could light up a whole city with the static charge. Rainbow flags and marketing. They want our supper? Make them sing. It's about making money fast, but not the story of our past. Corporations want to join? It started in the Tenderloin. Izzy's voice falters a little when she hits the last chorus, sliding a bit before hitting the final note. Maybe it's emotion, maybe it's just exhaustion. But the audience chimes in to sing the last lines with her, fists pumping in the air. I can't see much from behind the drums, but I catch sight of Ollie and Jordy's shoulders, holding up a big glittery sign with drugstore makeup written on it, and it nearly brings a tear to my eye. To know our friends are out there cheering us on. I feel like I'm a million miles in the air, floating up in the sky with the stars. Honestly, I don't even care if we win, but I know Izzy does, so I squeeze her hand as we go backstage, listening to the final band, and then wait for the judges to make their decision. "You were so good," Pixie squeals when she sees us. "That second song, so sweet." Tammy nods her agreement. "Yeah, that one's new, right? I don't think I've heard you play it before." "It's on the EP," Izzy says shortly. I nudge her, trying to bring her into the moment. I can feel the tension wound through every part of her body just in her grip. I know she doesn't mean to be rude, probably. She's met the high seas a couple of times now. Even if she's not usually up for our shenanigans, she and Dex at least get along. "Well, you killed it," I say to change the subject. Really set the tone. I feel like after your set, the energy was just so... I mime an explosion with my free hand. "We're gonna party after this," Dwight says. "Win or lose, we figured tonight's worth celebrating. You in?" "Hell yeah." I knock elbows with him, grinning from ear to ear as I revel in this shared experience we get to have. How good it feels to be with friends. The MC, who's been killing time by plugging the fundraiser some more and telling some pretty bad jokes, clears their throat, and their voice booms across the park. Alrighty, folks, we've got the results here. Are you ready? The crowd, both in front of and behind the stage, erupt in cheers. Izzy's hand goes rigid in mine, and I rub soothing circles against her palm. I can feel the held breath in her chest. I long for the exhale, one way or the other. Your winner of the 2017 Battle of the Bands, winning a fully funded West Coast tour, 8 hours of studio recording time, a cover shoot and interview in Sounds of the Sound, and free ice cream from Molly Moon for a year.
Any guesses on who wins? Well, maybe Steph and Izzy, or maybe probably the High Seas because they're in the thing too. So either one of them isn't necessarily a bad choice.
They open a folded piece of paper, smile, then turn back to the mic. The High Seas!
Bam! I figured. Because Izzy and Steph, you know, the most important thing about this for Izzy and Steph is, at the very least, they get exposure and some promotion and notoriety from this. And obviously, on a personal level, on a more personal level, that Izzy's former band does not win. And technically, they didn't win because the High Seas won. So, in a roundabout way, mission was accomplished on that one.
Energy erupts around me. Pixie jumps up and down, catching Dwight's hands in hers while Tammy sends her fist into the air and shouts, "Yes!" Beside her, Dex just stares, eyes unfocused at the stage, mouth open. "You did it!" I shout, though my voice is totally drowned out by the audience's roar. I clap Dex on the shoulder and give him a little shove toward the others as they make their way on stage to give an encore. As they strike up the first chords of their song, Ghost, I feel Izzy's hand slip from mine, limp and tired. "Hey." I try to catch her arm, but she evades my grasp. "I'm sorry we didn't win." "Yeah." Izzy's voice sounds so far away, like I've already lost her to whatever liminal space she disappears to after gigs. But this time it doesn't feel the same, like she's so much further out of reach. "Have fun tonight, okay? I'm gonna go home." I don't watch my friends in their moment of triumph. Instead, I watch Izzy drive away. Tammy's voice, melodious and warm, wraps around me like a wind. I know Pixie dedicated the song to Chloe and Max, but right now it feels like it's for me.
Ooh. That's even more, that's even more of an emotional, well, specifically for Steph, obviously, an even more emotional hit that the song that got the High Seas the win is specifically the song that they wrote about Max and Chloe. Which, if if you read the comic books, is also a reference to the fact that Izzy did write that song, because it is Izzy, that Pixie does write that song. She blatantly, I believe the scene is, it's in the first trade that while Max and Chloe are are going to Arcadia Bay for the for the first anniversary of the storm uh, wiping out the town while the town's rebuilding. While Max and Chloe are going over there, the high seas are, practicing and doing their waiting for practicing and coming up. And Pixie specifically is coming up with a new song to play um, while they're waiting for Max and Chloe to come back. And Pixie specifically uh, gets called out by the other band members on what she's working on, and she blatantly says the song is about Max and Chloe. So once they poke her and tease her a little bit, she, tells them. So it's kind of funny that that song specifically that was mentioned there is the song that they play here and ends up being the song that helps win them the competition. So that's kind of funny that not only is Steph getting some well, the main story is technically all about Steph. She's the main character, but the fact that she's getting all this character development, and also indirectly, if you followed also the comic books, the high seas are also technically getting some fun additional character development and follow up on certain aspects that were done in the comic books too. So that's pretty sweet actually. Really gives it an overall big connective feel that everything's connected and it weaves in and out of each other, which is pretty cool.
If you choose to go, I hope you know. I'll love your ghost. I'll love your ghost. 20. Pride After Dark is a kaleidoscope of colorful lights, glow sticks, and glitter. Dex has taped lime green glow sticks along his body like an alien stick figure, and Tammy has built a crown out of his cast-offs. Leah practically looks like a disco ball, the sequins in her dress catching every light. I do my best to put Izzy out of my mind. It isn't my problem if she doesn't want to party with us, and besides, she told me to have fun. After a few drinks and some encouragement from Pixie, I join them in front of the stage, busting a move with the rest of them. Even Jordy is swaying back and forth rhythmically next to Ollie while a Tegan and Sarah song plays over the speakers. The festival comes to a close too soon, but it's a public park, so as the MC says, we don't have to go home, but we can't stay there. Dwight and Tammy discuss nearby bars and clubs for the next leg of their celebration, while Leah and Pixie try to take selfies in the dark. So, is he ditched again? Jordy asks, quietly sidling over to me and nudging my elbow with his. I nod until I realize he can't see me in the dark, so I say, yeah, she wasn't feeling well or something. Or something? Jordy's tone gives nothing away, but I know if I could see his face, his worry would be written all over it. Everything okay with you two? Of course, why wouldn't it be? I rush the words from my lips, like the faster I say them, the truer they'll be. Besides, the last time Jordy and I talked about my relationship with Izzy, he had more opinions than I wanted to hear. Fine, okay, don't tell me. There's nothing to tell. But my chest tightens, and my hands ball into fists by my side. I know it's a lie, but I don't know what the truth is, so it'll have to do. Jordy stands beside me without speaking. I know this tactic. I've tried it on him 100 times while GMing a game. People can't handle quiet. So they'll talk eventually, if only to fill the silence. It's my favorite way to make them engage with character roleplay. He can't use my own tricks against me and win, though. I'm the mighty Steph, and I own this game. Finally, Jordy cracks. I can't tell if you're bullshitting me or not right now, so I'm gonna be straight with you. I chuckle. At Pride? That's homophobic. Haha, yes, wordplay. He deadpans. But really, Steph, if you think everything's fine, you're not paying attention. I groan. I know. Izzy's just. She gets weird after we play. I guess she just needs time to wind down or something. I'm not talking about Izzy. Jordy presses his shoulder to mine and bends his head so only I can hear him. I mean you. Me? My eyebrows join forcefully at the center of my forehead, like they're making some business deal over my perceived mental state. Yes. Jordy lets out a long, exasperated breath. Look, I'm not gonna pretend I know you on some kind of deep soul level, but it's pretty apparent to everyone that you've changed. Is this about Save Point? Oh my god, Jordy, it was just a job. It's not about the job. It's about everything else. Steph, when was the last time you hung out with me and Ollie on purpose? I open my mouth, ready to list any number of events we've all attended together over the past few months, but he cuts me off. And your own gigs absolutely don't count. What about like we used to? It's been ages since we played D&D or had a movie night, and you're way behind on Critical Role. No, don't even try to pretend like you're not.
Oh boy, here we go. The these it is, I don't know if any of y'all have any of you ever experienced this when you're in a relationship with somebody and sometimes you're like really into the person and you're doing whatever y'all doing, but at the same time, some probably without you realizing it, you start pushing like your other friends to the side, maybe friends that you would usually hang out with on a pretty regular basis, and you start nudging them over. And then now you have to have that talk and discussion of I don't know, you're putting you're starting to let your relationship go over all your friends and everything that you've had, and you're not really trying to balance it all out in a fair way. Me myself, I haven't done that myself, but have personally been around friends and around those discussions of where other friends of mine have uh, had those situations happen. So it's not a really good feeling to be like that, to for that to happen. And I've had plenty of friends that have talked to me personally about about feeling that way and being like, should I like talk to them about it and like things like that. Try to respectfully like try to talk to them about it and not try to be make it feel so antagonistic or anything. So I could definitely feel how I could definitely see how Ollie and whatnot would feel uh, about Steph's behavior and stuff. Which, from Steph's point of view, I could also understand because it's not just that she's in a relationship with Izzy. It's also that they're also trying to make a career happen with the band and all that stuff. So it's a very gray and not necessarily one sided one or the other type of situation. So let's see how this discussion goes.
If you were caught up, you'd know what I mean when I say keyfish. There's silence in the wake of that statement because he's right. I have no idea what he's talking about. How long has it been since you've rolled a d20, Steph? I've been busy, okay? Look, I'm just saying, I miss my friend Steph. I feel defensiveness crawling up my throat, but I shove it down, so when I say, so am I just supposed to stay the same forever? It comes out dry and a little tender like a wound. What? No, Steph, that's so not the point. But I don't let him finish. Maybe I should, but I just can't hear it right now. Because if Jordy misses who I used to be, then I'll have to acknowledge that I've changed. I'm not really sure who I used to be, but I'm not sure who I am now either, and that scares me. Whatever, I'm out, I say.
Oh, back to
Steph,
the
come on.
self-doubting.
Jordy catches my arm. I'm saying this because I care. Yeah, right. I wrench my arm from his grasp and stalk away. But I can still hear him as he shouts after me in the dark. Lots of people love you, Steph. You just gotta let them. Izzy's in the garage when I get home.
Well, that whole conversation could have gone way better. But clearly there should be more to that, so we'll see.
Headphones crowning her head. She's watching something on her phone, knees curled to her chest. She doesn't notice me at first, too engrossed in whatever she's watching. I pause in the doorway, remembering what Pixie said about Izzy needing alone time after gigs. I don't want to interrupt her wind down, but I also don't want to lose my nerve. Luckily, Izzy looks up from her phone after about a minute and pushes her headphones down. Hey, what time is it? She asks. I take a step into the garage and shrug. Like 11:30, I think. Oh, you didn't want to stay out longer? Trying to get rid of me? I mean it to sound lighthearted and teasing, but instead it comes out accusatory. I try to brush past it, crossing the room to look at her phone. What are you watching? She turns the phone toward me. Recording of her set. Shaky footage shot from the audience plays on the screen. We're washed out by the lighting, and whoever's holding the phone is jumping up and down. But it's cool to see us up there on that stage, playing our music for so many people. This is rad.
Well, that's what
I reach for the phone and she unplugs her headphones so I can hear the audio. It's distorted, but distinctly us. Nowhere near as clear as the studio stuff we recorded, but I can't help but smile as Izzy sings the chorus of Riot Pride. Yeah, Izzy says, but her voice wobbles a bit. I figured it would be good to have video to watch back. See how we can improve for next time. My chest clenches and my throat goes dry. God, Izzy, really? The words tear from me before I can stop them. Can't you just be happy that we played a good set and enjoy that? We lost, Steph. I think it's fair to spend some time thinking about why. Izzy's face goes still, and she looks down at the phone between us. There's nothing wrong with wanting to learn from our mistakes. I'm just being practical. Practical? I repeat, tossing the phone back to her. Or critical. I swear, Izzy, it's like your brain just skips over all the good stuff. Well, that's not how I see it. Her voice is quiet, but her hands are jittery, fingers drumming against her phone case. I let out a long sigh and pace along the garage. I want so badly for her to see it my way. For her to see how amazing she is, how amazing we are, maybe even how amazing I am. Because if all Izzy can think about are the mistakes, if all she's looking at is the potential, and she's forgetting to see the progress. Even though we've been at this for a year now, I can't help but think about how she's been doing this so much longer than me. How she's this professional musician, and I'm still just some girl who happened along with a ruined t-shirt and a dusty old drum kit. So what? We didn't win and now you think we suck? I ask, fully aware that's not what she's saying at all. But I kind of don't care. I'm still bristling from my fight with Jordy, and I can't seem to stop the antagonistic energy pouring from me. At this point, I just want to see how she responds. See if she bothers to argue back. I didn't say that. Yeah, but you're thinking it, right? Izzy turns away, bending to uncoil and recoil an amp cord. God, you really are thinking it. What the fuck, Izzy? Izzy lets the cord drop back to the floor and turns around. The moment she does, all the fight bleeds out of me. Her cheeks are damp with tears and her eyes are lidded and dim. Shit. I cross the room and grab for her hand. The pain in my chest doubles as she pulls it back. Izzy, what's wrong? And maybe it's a stupid question because obviously the answer is that we lost. But there's something else going on here. There has to be. Izzy's lip quivers, and she puts a hand over her mouth to hide it. I messed up, okay? What do you mean? She fixes me with a glare, but it's devoid of animosity. Like it's not really meant for me. I don't think we suck. You were great tonight. Even behind the drum set, you have great stage presence. Thanks, I guess. I would feel better about the compliment if it didn't imply a but. It's me, Izzy says in barely more than a whisper. I was off my game tonight. I'm the reason we lost. Okay, well, that's just not true. The truth is we lost because the high seas were better than us.
Talk about with Steph's self-doubt, and then now you have a lot of Izzy's self-doubt all over the place. Hopefully we'll see if these two can get their issues, their self-doubt issues at least sorted out.
They deserve their win, and it feels wrong to imply we could have beaten them if only Izzy hadn't missed the final note. Maybe we could have, but I think it's more than likely we lost the second the high seas finished their set. It didn't matter how good we were, because they were better. But Izzy doesn't need to hear that. No amount of logic is going to dispel the negative thoughts mulling over in her mind. I roll my seat from behind the drum kit and plop down on it next to her. Why do you think that? Because I didn't do my best. I flubbed the last chorus of Compton Cafeteria, and I was all in my head because of fucking Astrid. My head shoots up. Astrid? Yeah, she and the other girls. When I saw you with them before the gig, you said they were being nice. Yeah, well, I should have known better than to trust that, shouldn't I? I groan. God, I hate them. What'd they say? Izzy curls her toes against the cold floor and crosses her arms. They didn't say anything. Then she passes me the phone again and points to the bottom half of the screen, where some of the audience can be seen dancing and cheering along with our song. At first, I think she's pointing out Ollie and his big drugstore makeup sign. But then I see them. All three members of Vinyl Resting Place. They sneak into the crowd during the opening notes of our third song, and as they pass in front of the camera, I see it. All three of them are wearing full faces of makeup, caked on and sloppy. They look kind of like clowns. Okay, well, they just look stupid. But I don't finish the thought. It's only for a second, but the camera catches a glimpse of the sign Astrid is holding up, and I freeze. It's our logo, with our band name scrawled across it. But in small letters, just below drugstore makeup, is written a cheap knockoff of the real thing. transphobic shit stains. My neck and cheeks flush with anger. Yeah, I don't know if they meant it like that, but it fucked me up when I saw it. Izzy's voice, somehow calm and steady, pulls me back to her. My rage can wait. I reach for her again, and this time Izzy lets me pull her over and down onto my knee. I bury my face in her shoulder and breathe her in. She sighs into me, body melting against mine. I should have just ignored them, but it got to me, and I messed up the song and we lost. So we're not going on tour, and we're not getting free studio time or a fresh paint job for the van. Don't forget the free ice cream for a year. She laughs against my hair. That too. I exhale the rest of my anger, deflating like a pop balloon. Instead, all I can feel is the hurt in Izzy's heart beating against mine. I run my hands up her back and say, "I'm so sorry, Izzy." She slides her fingers into my hair and leans her cheek on the top of my head. You didn't do anything wrong. It's the right thing to say. The call and response of an apology that isn't really mine to give. But it still feels false. I came here tonight with every intention of picking a fight because I was feeling, neglected, ignored, unappreciated. Because I've been packing away pieces of myself to be the right girl for her. And I don't think she's even noticed. Because even if she hasn't, my other friends definitely have. But none of that feels important right now. Hey, I say, tilting my face up so my chin rests on her shoulder. My gaze meets hers, and I hope with every fiber of my being that something I say will bring the light back to her eyes. I have an idea. Yeah? She wraps her arms around my shoulders, fingers dancing at the nape of my neck. What you got? I lift my mouth to hers, teasing a smile onto her lips with a kiss. Izzy Margolis, will you go on tour with me? 21.
So, as is probably the right suspicion, clearly Astra than the rest of Vinyl Resting Place were just being assholes and leading Izzy into a false sense of security, and then right at the most opportune moment for them, do something to ruin her chances and fuck up uh her whole mood and stuff right in the middle of the performance. So, but hey, as I said, silver lining was the high seas ended up winning. So at the very least, it's not like that dumb doing that made them win the competition at the very least. So that would have been a whole lot worse. But at the very least, the high seas won. So at least someone deserving still won and not, a group of assholes. So at least there's that.
The minute the words leave my lips, I know we have to do it. A tour is the perfect next step for us. We'll level up as a band and it will pull Izzy out of this doom spiral she's in. She needs this. But even more importantly, we need this. I can feel the fault lines in the foundation of our relationship. One good shake and it'll all come tumbling down. But maybe a tour can help us piece things back together. Remember why we were in it in the first place. Give us something to work toward as a team. I don't know. Would anyone even come see us? Izzy stands up, and I feel the absence of her touch everywhere. Like, I know we're not nobodies, but what venue outside of Seattle would host us? You were all excited about the Battle of the Bands tour. How is this any different? That was all expenses paid, Steph. We can't afford to go on an unsuccessful tour. My eyes traced the outline of her nerves, the way her hand finds a loose thread on her pajama pants, the way she rolls her lip between her teeth, the way her gaze flickers down to her bare feet. She's right. We can't afford for this not to work. And I don't mean in terms of our bank accounts. We won't survive this going poorly, but maybe we won't survive anyway. The risk is worth it. Okay, well, let's make sure it's successful. I stand up too now, pulling my phone from my pocket and pulling up Google Maps. And we'll go to places where we know people, so we don't have to pay for hotels and stuff. My grandma lives in Sacramento, so we should definitely do a show there. She'll let us crash with her. I can start contacting places in the morning. Plus, we'll need flyers, posters, and stuff. And what about the van? Maybe we can take out the backseat to make room for some cool road trip stuff. Make it so we can sleep in the back for the cities where we don't have friends. Like what? Izzy gives me a perplexed look. A waterbed and a mini fridge? Mini fridge. That's a great idea. Oh my god, I was kidding. I'm not. A grin plays across my face. This is the energy we need. Forward momentum, something to run toward. When do you think we can go? Is fall too soon? Slow down. Izzy puts a hand on my shoulder, fingers biting into my bare skin. Her grip is like a heavy weight, dragging me back down to earth. Skepticism is written all over her face. And a little light of fury rises in me at the people who made her doubt that we can do this. I want to prove them wrong. Slow down? Why? It's almost midnight, but this is the most awake I've felt all day. My body hums with energy and I want her to feel it too. Izzy, this is our chance. We have to take it. We haven't even booked any shows yet. Yeah, but we will. Come to bed, Steph. We'll talk about it in the morning. Izzy drags me toward bed and falls asleep almost as soon as her head hits the pillow. I lie awake, brain abuzz with possibility. I won't let her hesitance temper my enthusiasm. I can't. I spend the next morning researching venues on the West Coast. Pixie gives me the names of some places the High Seas played on their last tour, and I even post on Reddit asking for recommendations. That's when I discover something I didn't really believe until now. Drugstore makeup is popular. There are already posts on Instagram with video clips from the Battle of the Bands. The clip of us kissing between songs has been shared a lot, and it's still racking up views. The comments are mostly positive, with a few homophobic trolls in between. Lots of rainbow emojis, and a few people saying they wish they lived closer to Seattle so that they could have seen us.
Yeah, to be fair, you're always gonna get, like, no matter how popular and positive or whatever the stuff you do, you're always gonna get haters and stuff in anything anyway. So some getting the very easy homophobic stuff is unfortunately to be expected for them. So hopefully, they don't let that bother or discourage them in any way.
It's not just fans, though. We've gotten some good press since releasing the EP. I scroll through the search results, finding our music on listicles like Seattle bands you should be listening to, queer punk anthems of the summer, and songs to listen to while you punch a Nazi. I paste the links into an email to send Izzy, just in case she hasn't seen them. And then, for good measure, I send them to my dad, too. My inbox chimes almost immediately after hitting send. And I'm sure I've gotten Dad's out of office or something. But no. It's a reply to my post on Reddit. I navigate back to the tab and read. Hey, Steph, we love drugstore makeup in SLC. If you're thinking about heading to Utah, a friend of mine runs a queer-friendly club called Atomic Decay. I can put you in touch for scheduling. I grin, and by the time I've typed my reply, there are 2 more messages suggesting places in Denver and Reno. Before I know it, I have a tentative schedule in the works. Hey there, hot stuff, Izzy says, pushing up the garage door. Literally, it's boiling in here. How are you not liquefied? Honestly, I didn't notice. Too engrossed in my research to turn on the fan. Did you know that drugstore makeup is one of this year's most moshable bands? I ask, holding up the laptop for Izzy to see the article I've just found. What the hell is moshable? Like, mosh pit, I think. I don't know. Whatever it is, we're it. Izzy takes the laptop from me and points at the screen. What's this? That is a schedule of very real venues with very real audiences that have offered us very real show dates. I nudge her. What do you say to a winter tour? I tap the column where I've listed February and March dates. Well, Izzy begins, but I cut her off before she can shut me down. Look, I know you're disappointed about last night. I am too, but we can't let assholes keep us from our dreams. Maybe your old bandmates hate us, but you know who doesn't? The thousands of listeners who've streamed our music. A lot of them want us to play in their cities, so let's do this, okay? I almost add please to the end, but it feels too pathetic, too desperate. I want this, but even more than that, I want her to want it. You didn't let me finish. Izzy cracks a smile and tugs on the belt loop of my shorts. I was going to say it's a good thing the van's insulated. She pulls me forward toward the open garage door, where the van is parked, and pops the trunk to reveal an open space. The back seat is gone, and in its place is a little battery-powered mini fridge. It'll be a bit of a tight squeeze with the drums, but I love a tight squeeze. I wrap my arms around her middle and lift her up into the van. Izzy giggles as we topple over, clumsily bumping into the mini fridge, but the sound barely escapes her before I capture her laugh with my lips. It's messy and imperfect, our hearts beating a discordant rhythm together. But it's also exactly what a summer kiss in the back of a van on a 90-degree day should be. Fall. 22. It doesn't stay warm and sunny for long. The temperatures drop and so does my mood. I try to lose myself in tour planning, but our lineup is basically set. 7 stops across 7 states. We'll be on the road for a month, but we don't leave until February. It feels so far away here in October. I find myself refreshing the Reddit thread over and over, but nothing much changes other than some guy with the handle GabeSurdity93 who keeps asking us to come to a place called Haven Springs in Colorado. I write back, hoping the exclamation points I use in my message will translate over to enthusiasm in the real world. Steph, write up. We'll be in Colorado on March 8th at the Hermit Cafe in Denver. Come see us. He writes back a few seconds later. GabeSurdity93. Swing through Haven Springs on the way. You can play the Black Lantern. They've got amazing fries in addition to fully functional outlets. I roll my eyes, but type back. Steph, write up. Fully functional outlets? How can we possibly resist such amenities? I roll onto my front on the living room couch, arms and head hanging off the side as my eyes glaze over. The sound of rain pelting the roof is tinny and constant. Even noise-canceling headphones aren't enough to keep the weather from affecting me. Usually I'd find a distraction at work, curating playlists for the day that would keep me upbeat and occupied. But without my coffee shop job, there's too much time in the day for my thoughts to spin out of control. My phone chimes with a text from Jordy. Hey, haven't seen you in a while. I don't know if you're around, but the Critical Role finale is tomorrow, and it would be cool if you came. I cringe. I know Jordy and I both regret how things went at Pride, but we haven't had a chance to talk about it. I want to. I want to say I'm sorry, and I want to hear he's sorry. But part of me is afraid that he's right. I have changed. I'm still not caught up. That's okay, we can give you a highlight reel. Ollie's making D20-shaped cookies, and we're gonna play bingo. I'll try to make it. Even as I type the words, I know it's a lie. I can barely move my limbs today, fused to the couch by some heaviness in my chest I can't seem to shake. Part of me wishes Izzy was home, so I could curl up with her and let the press of our bodies wash away the ache in my heart. Another part of me is glad to be alone. I know she needs me to be excited about the tour, to be positive in the face of her doubt. But I don't have it in me to be a source of light today. As day turns to night and the cloudy sky goes dark, I hear the scrape of a key in the lock. I can't even be bothered to look up from my phone to see which of my housemates has returned. Refreshing the Reddit page futilely once more. It's not until I feel a weight on the cushion beside me that I realize Izzy's been saying my name. Steph, are you even listening? Sorry. I scramble to pull my headphones off. What'd you say? I want to show you something. Maybe it'll cheer you up. I swallow, blink, and summon every ounce of energy I have to turn my lips upward into a smile. It feels leaden and rusty. I don't need cheering up. I'm cheered. Izzy gives me a skeptical look and holds out her hand. Come on. The feel of her fingers against mine is an acute shock to my system. I almost flinch at her touch, but she wraps my hand in hers and pulls me to my feet. I know it's still a few months away, she begins as she leads me outside. I sink into the cold embrace of what promises to be a stormy night. Raindrops speckle my skin, and a wind rustles the bushes along the driveway. Chilly, I say. It's all I can manage. Just a sec, I promise. Izzy runs her hands up and down my arm and guides me toward the van parked in the driveway. Okay, ta-da! She flings the doors open, and light spills out onto the pavement, soft and gentle, generated by a strand of fairy lights taped around the windows. The bed area has a mattress with blankets and pillows piled on top, and in the center is a cardboard pizza box. Thought we could have a slumber party in the van? Give it a test run, pretend like we're on tour? It's so sweet I could cry. And as Izzy drags me out of the rain and into the van, I realize I am crying. Izzy doesn't ask me about it, though, just pats the space on the mattress beside her and pulls the lid off the pizza box to reveal a Hawaiian with herbed crust. We eat in silence, Izzy's hand resting on my knee the whole time, like she's afraid if she stops touching me, I'll drift away. I'm glad. For the first time all day, I feel like I actually want to be where I am. I wish Mom could have met you. I don't actually realize it's true until the words are tumbling from my lips. Izzy pauses mid-bite, cheese hanging like a limp spiderweb between her mouth and the slice of pizza. Yeah? I nod. Words stuck in my throat. I don't know if you know this, but I'm very cool. She smiles and brings her other hand to the small of my back. I'm a big hit with parents. I shift to lie down on the mattress, curling my knees up against my chest. The thing they don't tell you about losing someone is that it's not just the memories of them that haunt you. It's the future you never get to have together. My imagination spills forth, concocting for me a false reality in which I bring Izzy home to meet her. Mom answers the door in her floral apron, hands dusted with flour. She's been baking in preparation for our visit. She fusses over Izzy as we take our shoes off. She calls her beautiful. She scolds me for not warning her. Throughout the visit, she tries to feed us everything in the pantry. She worries we're not eating enough. She worries about a lot of things. In the end, she welcomes Izzy to the family, like it's a label that's hers to give away, not mine. Even the version of her in my imagination still finds ways to make decisions for me. When I was younger, I learned to rely on it. It's how I survived the unhappy years before the divorce. Now, at almost 24, I still look to her for my cues. Do you think she'd like me? Izzy asks as she settles down beside me, tucking her chin against my spine. Yeah. I choke out. I don't have the energy to tell her the rest. I wouldn't know how to say it even if I did. How I think, on some level, she'd like Izzy even more than I do. How that scares me more than almost anything else. Instead, I just say, she'd hate your taste in pizza, though. Izzy's laugh wraps me up like a blanket. But even in her arms, cuddled up as we are, I'm still cold. 23. When I wake up, I'm in motion. I'm still in the van, curled in a ball on the mattress. But Izzy's not next to me anymore. Her absence is a whisper of cold against my back, and I shiver. There's a low rumbling sound, the engine, and every so often there's a bump, jostling me, the road. Izzy? I say, scrambling to my knees, only to be promptly knocked back down by another bump in the road. Izzy, what's going on? Ah, you're awake. Her voice comes from the front of the van, a little muffled. Just in time, we're almost there. Almost where? I manage to get to my feet and stumble up to the front seat. We're driving down a scrap of freeway I don't recognize, the signs obscured by morning fog. At least it's not raining anymore. You'll see, Izzy says cheerily, turning onto a narrow lane lined by a thin smattering of trees. I yawn and settle into the seat, tucking my legs up against my chest. How long have we been driving? Couple hours. She pulls into what can only be called a parking spot in the loosest possible terms and cuts the engine. I woke up early. That's an understatement. I know things have been rough for you lately, and I had an idea for how to cheer you up. Did that idea involve a plan to procure caffeine? I rub my eyes, still groggy. We can pick some up on the way back? Izzy pops the door open and hops down. Come on. Instead of pavement, my feet hit something soft, and I stumble over loose dirt and rock. There's a rushing in my ears, and a familiar smell in the air I can't quite place. Pine and salt, and cold. Izzy loops around the side of the van and takes my hand, stabilizing me. Let's go. She leads the way along the path as it gets narrower and narrower until we have to adjust to go single file down a steep decline. Here we are, Izzy says, gesturing at the view. My heart leaps into my throat so violently I almost choke on it, and my lungs falter, tripping over breath after breath, because Izzy has brought me to the one place I don't want to be. The coast. We don't have beaches in the Pacific Northwest, not in the way that California or Florida do. We don't have fluffy white sand and warm ocean waves and colorful drinks with umbrellas to sip on while we sunbathe. We have rocky shores and ocean spray and bonfires. The coast is cold and brutal most of the year. But today, it nearly rips me to shreds. The wind makes a mess of the tears on my face, obscuring my vision. I dip down to my knees, unable to stay upright, as the world seems to bend and break before me. It isn't Arcadia Bay, but it may as well be. With the way my body recoils and rejects this place where sand meets sea. Steph? Izzy's voice is far away, as though from another plane of existence entirely. Steph, are you okay? The question is so absurd to me, it's almost laughable. Am I okay? I haven't been okay for a long time, and I can't believe it took someone driving me to the coast for me to realize it. I push off the sand, damp circles pressed into the knees of my jeans, and come to standing. With a shaky breath, I look to the horizon and say, no. And then I sprint down the shore. I don't know how long I run, but eventually I come to a large, craggy rock with a lighthouse perched atop it. reaching up into cotton candy clouds, and I have to turn around. The beach lightens and the fog clears as the sun inches over the horizon, but I can't see Izzy anywhere in the distance. Maybe she's waiting for me back at the van. Maybe she's given up and left me behind like some kind of wildlife drop-off. That's it. Leave the feral beast in her natural habitat, near the ocean, where grief is as likely to get her as the ocean waves. I kick the sand with the toe of my white Vans as I begin the trek back. This time, I don't run. I walk slowly, weaving backward and forward across the beach, eyes skipping over stones and shells and kelp left behind by the tide. I pick up a whole sand dollar and a bit of sea-weathered glass, smooth and green. Eventually, the trailhead comes back into view, but I'm not ready yet. So I carve myself a little seat in the sand. I feel like I'll never be ready. Part of me will always be stuck here at the edge of land and sea. The seam between the two vacillates as the tide creeps in and out, leaving little bits of foam in its wake. I want to take all my feelings and throw them into the wind. Let the ocean spirit them away to weird and wondrous depths. But I don't know how to loosen my grip on these emotions. How do you let go of someone you already lost? How do you do it without losing them again? There you are. Izzy's voice is coarse and clotted. Fucking hell, Steph. I immediately tense, my muscles matching her tone. What is going on with you? She plops down next to me in the sand. I know things are rough right now, but I really thought a change of scenery would help. I meet her with a hard gaze and words dripping with sarcasm. You did you? What a genius idea. Take the girl with coastal town trauma to the coast. Coastal town trauma? Izzy shakes her head, hair sticking to her face, wet with wind. What are you talking about? I thought this was about your mom. I've told Izzy more than almost anyone who wasn't there to witness it themselves, like Mikey or Chloe. But I haven't mentioned it since that night a year ago, when I told her about my mom. So how is she supposed to remember? How is she supposed to know how I feel when I don't really know how I feel? I've only rarely said the words out loud, given name to the place that still holds so much of my fractured heart. Arcadia Bay. The words are on the tip of my tongue, an endless scroll of stories I could tell. I could tell her about winters spent curled up by the fire watching movies with my dad. Springs spent on the lawn of Blackwell Academy playing tabletop RPGs with Mikey, Chloe, and Rachel. Summers spent collecting enough seashells to decorate the sandcastles we built. But mostly, I should tell her about fall. About one fall in particular. I should really tell her. More than just the basics.
Exactly.
I should tell her about the wind and the rain, about the wreckage, about the final phone call with my mom, about our last words to each other over a static connection.
Exactly.
I should tell her about how I still can't look at the ocean without the grief welling up inside me. How I can't bring myself to text Chloe or Mikey anymore, because it reminds me too much of the time before my life came crashing down. I should tell her she's the first new person I've said I love you to, about how I'm still waiting for the words to ruin her the way they ruin Mom. I can sense the precarious cliff we stand on, toes curled around the ledge, on the precipice of falling. And Izzy's right here, hand outstretched. Maybe she's here to save me, pull me away from the edge. Or maybe she'll take my hand, and we'll jump together. I stare, unseeing at the shoreline, waiting. For what? I can't say. Because I know how this will go. I will tear myself apart, pulling at this emotional thread until I unravel before her eyes. just so I can hand her this little piece of myself. And she will take it in her hands, ready to shelter it from the wind and rain. But it's the rest of me that will be in ruin. Opening my mouth, I turn to begin the process of unmaking myself before her, of shedding myself layer by layer so she can see the truth of the girl she loves. In her eyes is a desperate longing. She wants this. She wants me. If I tell her everything, it will make her feel closer. It will make her feel better. But it will only make me feel weary and raw. It doesn't matter, I say, nearly choking on the words. None of it matters. Steph, talk to me. She grabs for my hand. I let her hold it. I won't let her have anything else. I don't want to talk about it, okay? Just, can we go home? I sigh and add a tired, please. Izzy stands, helping me to my feet, and we march back to the van in silence. She finally lets go of my hand when she starts it up. The heat from the vents blows directly on my arms, warming my skin. Neither of us speaks as she sets up her GPS. But before she puts the van in reverse, she glances my way, tracing the curves of my face with her eyes. I wonder if she ever gets tired of it, looking at me. Self-conscious, I find my reflection in the mirror on the back of the sun visor. I look exhausted. I look aged. I feel both. I flip the visor back up. The only thing worse than the judgment of her eyes on me is my own. As we pull away from the beach, it's finally light enough to see the sign. And I almost laugh. Cape Disappointment State Park.
That is actually funny.
24. October turns into November, and November turns into December with little fanfare. I barely notice until I see Izzy's put up Hanukkah decorations, a menorah on the kitchen table perched precariously on my pride sign, a few wooden dreidels in a bowl beside it, a string of blue and white lights taped around the living room window. First night? I ask, finally wandering out of the garage around noon. Izzy nods and chews her lip. Looks nice. I cross to the fridge to look for something to munch on. It's been a while since I bought groceries, and Bruce and Saturn both went home to visit their families for the holidays, so I'm surprised to find it totally stocked. I got easy stuff, Izzy says quietly, like yogurt and string cheese and carrot sticks, stuff you don't have to cook. Cool. I grab a string cheese and tear open the plastic. Why? Her eyes roam over my pajamas and messy hair. There's no judgment there, but a blistering concern that makes me flinch a little. I'm going to drive up to Bellingham to visit my parents for a couple of days, do Hanukkah with them and stuff, but I'll be back in time for your birthday, okay? She says it quietly, cautiously, like I'm a child about to throw a tantrum. Oh. My fingers pick at the cheese stick in my hand. Right. Yeah, I'll be fine. Will you? You seem not fine. It hurts that she's noticed, almost as much as it would if she didn't. I shrug and angle away from her, like I can somehow hide the parts of me that are already so invisible. It's just the season. It's a bad time for me. You know that. I'll get over it. Depression isn't like a cold, Steph. You can't just wait it out with soup and tissues. I flinch, the word depression sinking deep into my skin. You don't know that? I grunt. You don't know anything about it. Izzy audibly exhales. I don't know what it's like to lose a parent. You're right. You do know you're not the first person to go through depression, right? You're not even the only person in this room. I feel like a fool. Of course I'm not the only one. Maybe it'll go away by the time you get back, I say gruffly. It always does eventually. Izzy's hand floats up to hover just above my shoulder, fingertips grazing the corner of my sleep t-shirt. Yeah. Maybe. She lets her hand fall. Look, I know it's not the same for everyone, and what worked for me might not work for you, but depression is a jerk. It kicked my ass a few years ago, and I was really lucky to have a therapist to help me through it. A therapist? Yeah. Izzy's face twists into a wince. It's like basically a requirement to get any kind of gender-affirming care as a trans person. Right. And it helped? I'm making an absolute mess of this string cheese now, more like mush cheese as I squeeze it between my fingers. With the depression, yeah. It helped with some of the gender stuff too. Mostly it was a hoop to jump through at the time, but I'm glad I had the option. She grabs a piece of paper from the counter and hands it to me. I wrote down a website for you to check out. There's some info on here and the names of some therapists who are taking patients, if you decide you want to try that. I'll get it together. You'll see. Okay. Izzy frowns and puts the paper back on the counter. But you're allowed to need help, Steph. No, it's fine. I can do this. It's my hill to climb. I get that, but you know it isn't cheating, right? Asking for a map and getting the right shoes first doesn't mean you didn't climb the hill yourself. She crosses to me and cups my elbow in her palm. All I'm saying is you don't have to do this alone. But as Izzy packs her things and takes off in the van, all I feel is alone. It takes me 2 days to finally take Izzy's advice. I've watched something like 30 hours of Critical Role on 2x speed, and I'm officially past the acceptable level of stinky. I feel rotten, like someone who has eaten an entire pack of string cheese in one sitting, which of course is exactly what I've done. I pull out my phone and type a text to Jordy. Okay, I get the key fish thing now. I hit backspace instead of sending it. I can't just text him like nothing happened, like I didn't totally flake on our friendship. I try again. Hey, so I fuck things up, huh? And that's no good either. Could you just talk to me? I'm really fucking lonely. I throw my phone down on the couch and groan, pressing the heels of my hands to my eyes. Maybe Jordy's just the wrong person to text. I grab my phone again and pull up my text thread with Izzy. How are the parents? Oh, you know, overwhelming. Dad tried to bake gluten-free challah. Is that as gross as it sounds? Grosser. How are you? Everything okay? A sigh rips through me. I know if I'm honest, it'll only make her feel guilty for leaving. She'll get back in her van and drive all the way home without stopping. And I won't even have to ask her. But there's a part of me that isn't sure being sad with her would be any better than being sad alone. Because it's not Izzy I miss. It's Mom. Rootin' tootin', literally. I've been experimenting with dairy. Did you know that string cheese makes a great improvised spoon for yogurt? Is this a cry for help? I am an innovator. Okay, well, innovate your way to a Tums or something so you don't get sick. I put the phone down, pick it up, put it down, and then pick it up once more. Izzy will be home in a couple days, and I can't still be wallowing like this by the time she does. I can shower, and I can cook, and I can put a smile on my face. But all that will just be a costume. Maybe she's right. Maybe I don't have to do this by myself. I heave myself off the couch and find the note she left me on the counter. Scrawled in her loopy handwriting is a website, so I type it into my phone's browser. It's some health site with information about depression and therapists in the Seattle area. The text is a jarring shade of blue that makes me want to close the window immediately. But I keep scrolling. A bold heading sticks out like a thorn. Seasonal affective disorder. I try the words on my tongue, sounding them out to see how they feel. Familiar. I read on, wondering if what I have really counts. It's not like I've always been this way, so is it really seasonal affective disorder, or is it just trauma? My brain sort of trips and falls on that thought, like it's a rock in my shoe and I can't keep going until I deal with it. But trauma isn't as simple as tipping your shoe upside down to see what falls out. It's the blister that won't heal, and the world is the shoe that will never quite fit, irritating the sore every time the seasons change. So maybe it doesn't really matter if it's trauma or not. I still feel like crap either way. I leave the website and type the phrase into a Reddit search instead. I'm way more interested in other people's experiences than in a paragraph lifted from some medical textbook. I scroll through a couple of threads. Some people talk about getting UV lamps or taking vitamin D supplements. Others say the only thing that helped was medication. Maybe this thing that knocks me out every fall isn't an immovable object. Maybe I can actually do something about it. The second I think it, guilt climbs in my throat, hot and suffocating, like my body is rejecting the idea entirely. Because yeah, I could get a special lamp or a therapist or a prescription, and maybe I'll stop feeling so wretched. But if I stop feeling this, if I stop missing Mom, then isn't that just like another death? I feel the sob rise in me, raw and ragged. It drags up my throat like sandpaper. I think about texting Izzy and asking her to come home. I think about texting Dad or Jordy or Leah. Hell, I even think about texting Chloe. It's been years, but she was there when the storm hit. So maybe she'll get it. Before I can begin to make any conscious decision, a notification pops up in the Reddit app. It's a new message from Gabe Surdity93, the user who's been steadily campaigning for a tour stop in their town. I tap the icon and open the message. Gabe Surdity93. Hey, have you given any more thought to coming to Haven Springs? Steph right up. Can't say that I have. Steph right up. Isn't it just a little mining town? Would anyone even show up? Gabe Surdity93. Absolutely. Haven Springs might be small, but we're mighty. Gabe Surdity93. And loud. Gabe Surdity93. And we love drugstore makeup. I sink down into a chair at the kitchen table. I want to be able to tell this person yes. I want to be able to make someone happy today, even if it's just a random stranger in a random town. Gabe Surdity93. I'm Gabe, by the way. Steph right up. Steph, but I guess you knew that already. Gabe Surdity93. Nice to meet you, Steph. Steph right up. So what's the deal, Gabe? Why so into getting us to play? Steph right up. You some kind of super fan or something? Gabe Surdity93. I mean, sure, I'm a fan. Gabe Surdity93. But really, I just love music. Gabe Surdity93. We don't get a lot of live music out here, and I guess I thought it'd be neat. Steph right up. Neat? Gabe Surdity93. Ha, yeah, guess I sound like an old fogey. But I don't know. My sister and I used to have the best time listening to records together. And I think it would be cool to make that kind of moment for this town I love. Steph right up. That's actually very sweet. Gabe Surdity93. So you'll do it? I lean back and stare at the ceiling as I listen to the patter of rain against the roof, against the windows, against the concrete outside. Eventually, I look back at my phone in the empty message bar, and I type, Steph right up. Hey, Gabe. Steph right up. Is it raining right now in Haven Springs? Gabe Sturdy 93. Nope. Gabe Sturdy 93. Why? Steph right up. Just think I could use some clear skies. Gabe Sturdy 93. Does that mean what I think it means?
Mm-mm.
Steph right up. Doesn't mean anything. Steph right up. Yet. And I know I have to talk it over with Izzy. Convince her we should do it. But me? I've already made up my mind. Winter. 20.
All right. So, with that, I guess we'll we'll leave it there. I think that's a nice little end point there, because that's since this is where Gabe is being introduced. So now we're getting into the more direct segue into True Colors now. So that's nice that now we're transitioning into the more direct prequel part of this story to True Colors. So that's pretty cool. Um, Also, nice of how Steph is trying to consider getting therapy for all the Arcadia Bay stuff. Um, and it does kind of make sense. It does make sense her reluctance to do it, with her reasoning being that if she does get over it, it's almost like she's forgetting and erasing her mom all over again. Like, I get that, but you know, the for me, which that I've lost a lot several really important people in my life. Um as I've said before, you don't get over it necessarily. You just learn how to deal with it and let it not not let the sadness of them not being there bring you down and overwhelm you. So, uh, if she does, well, I don't think she's gonna do the therapy, because clearly in Wavelength she still has a lot of that inside. So, if she does do it, maybe it'll help her kind of deal with it a little bit. But we'll see. I don't think she's gonna. I don't believe she's gonna do it. Really, but I don't know. We'll see. We still got a couple of chapters left, so we'll see. Uh, these several chapters, these couple of chapters today were pretty relatively quick. I wasn't expecting a lot of these chapters to be pretty quick, but hey, whatever, it's fine. But in any case, uh, hope you all enjoyed. Um, and hopefully, if you did, hopefully you continue to enjoy. And as always, JR here, signing off. And hope to see you all in the next one.